Okay, welcome to everybody. Welcome to you all who are on Zoom. I think we've gotten through all of the technology challenges, and so I'm going to give you just a moment to scan this QR code to enter a drawing at the end. And also on chat, it'd be great if you tell us where you're from. Is that better? Thank you so much. Okay. All right, let's jump in. So how's everybody enjoying the conference? Going great for you? All right. So much to learn, so much information, so much that we take home with us. And I hope that this will be something that you'll be glad that you came to this session for. Okay, so this is I'm Not Afraid of Writing Anymore, a quick guide to the HiSET writing test. And I'm Susan Bernard. I've been an adult ed teacher for 22 years. I'm also the high school equivalency coordinator for the Oklahoma City Community College Adult Learning Center and the author and publisher of the I'm Not Afraid Anymore series. So you may have noticed that I did a presentation yesterday morning about math. And now this one's about writing. I also have some materials for reading, social studies, and science. So is there anybody in here today that was with me yesterday morning? Okay. All right. I was just going to say, give me your information again so you can get in on the drawing. But okay, there we go. All right. So in 1987, McDonald's started this thing called the super size for their fries and their drinks. And so every time you placed an order, if you didn't already order something that was supersized, then they would always ask, would you like to supersize that? But in 2004, they decided to do away with that. And they just realized that most people didn't want all those extra calories and all of that. And our students are like the same way. They don't want to be bombarded with too much curriculum. They just want the little happy meal. They want the simple plan that will help them to reach their goal. So that's what this is about, is a quick guide, a simpler plan. And why do we need this? Adults have many responsibilities and their time is especially important to them. And so we need to help them reach their HSE goal as quickly as possible. I'm sorry for all the feedback with this microphone. We don't need to teach them everything that they missed out on from kindergarten to 12th grade. And I shifted my own perspective a couple of years ago, and we are having amazing success at the Oklahoma City Community College. So before a couple of years ago, I was more eager to teach things that would cover any type of official practice test or the paid or free practice tests from HiSET, that they would encounter. I wanted to make sure that I was covering everything. But a couple of years ago, I realized that it would be better to pare that down and to teach less so that they could more quickly reach their goal. So that's what we've been doing. All right, and who is this for? It's for students who plan to take the HiSET writing test. And it is a combination textbook and workbook that quickly prepares students for both the multiple choice questions and the argumentative essay writing required of the HiSET writing test. So before I go any further, do you all teach students, do you prepare them for the HiSET test? Or is there anyone in here that's preparing students for the GED test? Okay, so this presentation is specifically geared toward the HiSET test. And okay, and so for you on Zoom, one of the participants said that they do both at her location. Okay, so again, this is specifically geared toward the HiSET test. For those of you who are using the GED, you know that the writing and the reading are combined in one test. So I do have a GED version of the argumentative essays in a booklet form. I don't any longer have a version for the multiple choice because, as you probably already know, for GED that is, because as you probably already know, it's real heavy on the reading. There's not a lot of questions that are like the ones we have in the HiSET test for the multiple choice, but the argumentative essay could still be a big challenge. And so I do have a separate little booklet because the GED argumentative essay requirements and the HiSET are not the same. So just know that that is available. Okay, so what are some features? This is a printable version. So you can see it just has a real print-friendly cover. It doesn't take up all that ink for that bright blue cover that, goes from edge to edge. And so if you're printing your own, if you want to purchase a printable version, then this will use less ink. And both of them, are, I'm sorry. The printable version is also a projectable version. And so that makes it easy to use in a Zoom class. So you can, project it, you share your screen, just like I'm doing with you right now, to see the lessons. And the printable version would save your program money. So you would still have your printing costs, but you would pay a one-time fee and then you could print it as much as you want. Okay, and we also have a separate answer key. So the students can have their quick guide open to a certain lesson, and then they can open the answer key to the same lesson, side by side. Makes it easy to check their answers. And it's not just a list of answers, there'll be answers in context, and you'll see an example of that pretty soon. Okay, so these lessons correlate to the free practice test 8 from HiSET that was released last March. So do you all have a copy of that already if you're teaching HiSET? The free one, free PT 8? Okay. No response. All right. One person has it. You all are aware of the free practice test on the website, right? Okay, great. Okay, so this one is correlating to, like what are the latest? Now, in the fall, they came out with the PPT 8 and also the OPT 12. So I would say that, this quick guide still goes really well with like that PPT 8. I saw very little in there that I hadn't already covered when I was making sure that things correlated with this free version. I haven't really analyzed the OPT 12 a lot yet, but I think it's about the same as the PPT 8. Okay, and if anybody has questions along the way, just let me know. Okay, so this is just a screenshot of my website. I'm Not Afraid Publications Incorporated. And if you just scroll down, or also if you see right there by home, you can click on view or purchase products, then you would see these categories. Okay, so this middle one that's circled is the GED and HiSET category in English. And I do have quite a few materials available in Spanish as well. And you can also purchase, with a purchase order. You could also ask for a quote for like a volume discount, or, quotes are nice to go with purchase orders as well, because it simplifies the process on your end. With the one that we were just looking at, you could purchase directly, like with a debit or credit card. Okay, so. And the files are now downloadable, so you get your order quickly. Don't have to wait for me to prepare it and ship it to you. So I'm excited about that. Okay, so we're going to start looking at what's in the quick guide. Do I have any questions before I show you some samples of what's in it? All right, so we'll just dive in. All right, so here's the contents. We do have a part 1 that prepares for multiple choice and a part 2 that prepares for the argumentative essay writing. Okay, so part 1 has 3 units for the multiple choice. And the first unit is about organization. So we're looking at the big picture first, how things are organized. And so here is practice 1.1 that went with lesson 1.1, and you can see that it looks similar to the setup in a HiSET practice test with a passage in the left column and questions on the right. And in unit 2, the category, according to HiSET, is called writing conventions, but I think probably none of our students would know what that means. And so I'm using simpler words and just calling that writing by the rules. I'm not sure what that meant. Okay, we'll proceed anyway. Okay, and then lesson 2.2 instructs students with color coding. This is sound-alike words without apostrophes, and then the next section is sound-alike words with apostrophes. And so we have, pairs here, or the 2, 2, and 2 is a group of 3. And so each little group has its own color. The practice asks students to choose the correct answer in the context of paragraphs. So I used to have just, a group of sentences that would be unrelated. Now I've got them together in a paragraph so they can see them more like they would come to it in real life. And the practice for lesson 2.2 and the answer key also gives those answers in context and are also color-coded. So if they were wondering about, that orange answer, they could go back to the quick guide and see the pair that was orange and, read the differences between those 2 words. Action verbs are simply called doing verbs. So it's doing or being. So again, just going down to those common everyday words. It's not like they don't know what the word action means, especially if they have kids with action figures, but I feel like just calling it doing or being, like in every sentence, something is either doing something or it's just being something. And then students are encouraged to take action in their lives while they are seeing verbs underlined in this paragraph. So then it does connect back to that word action that they could see, other places in other textbooks. So throwing in a little encouragement along the way, because we all need that, right? Okay, in practice 4.2, students practice identifying verbs in paragraphs. So again, we've just got this idea of some context, and so they're learning about past, present, and future verbs, but they're finding them in paragraphs. And this is a foundation skill that is necessary for determining correct tense and subject-verb agreement in later lessons. So there's not going to be any questions on the HiSET test, most likely. I've never seen any on a practice test where they're just asking them, like, what's the past tense verb or anything like that. But they've got to learn how to recognize that if they're going to be able to answer questions where the error in there is subject verb agreement or, verb tense. So some things are those foundation skills for something later on that would be similar to what they see in the HiSET test. And then other times it's just directly, matching something like that. Welcome to you all who just walked in. Okay, lesson 7.5 reinforces previous lessons while it is also introducing a new concept. So we are introducing the idea of run-ons and comma splices, but along with that, we're reviewing all those things in blue we've already been talking about in the previous lessons. And so it is reinforcing and reviewing those concepts as well. So we see an example of a run-on mistake and a comma splice, but then we see, these 5 ways that could be corrected, applying what was learned in previous lessons. Okay. Are we having any questions on chat yet? Okay. Okay, and so then the practice that goes along with that requires students to analyze the answer choices to determine the incorrectly written sentence similar to testing. Their testing is going to be more like this, and the pictures help to keep it fun. All right, so the multiple choice part is a lot of recognizing what is incorrect and choosing the correct answer, or recognizing that it is correct the way it is, unless maybe it's one of those organization questions. So again, this gives you practice, gives the students practice with that type of thing. Okay, then unit 3, this is another one where HiSET calls it language facility. And so I've renamed that writing smoothly. And then I have this little explanation here of how, language facility is that idea of, learning to ride a bike. And when somebody has first tried to learn to ride a bike, they're going to be wobbly, even if they're going, they're probably going to be wobbly. But when they get to where they can just ride really smoothly, that's the same type of idea as language facility. So sometimes there are sentences that maybe they're not technically incorrect, but they are not sounding very smooth. And so this section works on that. And there are questions on the HiSET writing test where they need to know, the better, smoother way to write something. Okay, so then practice 9.3 gives practice in choosing more precise words and phrases. And this is also similar to how they will see this type of question on a HiSET practice test. And lesson 10 shows students various ways to correct fragments. So they're seeing some examples of fragments and, why it's a fragment, what it needs to go with it. So it will be a complete sentence. And this is not only for the multiple choice part of the test, but it's also vital preparation for their essay writing. Okay, so I'm just giving you a quick overview of things because, we have a limited amount of time here. And also, I don't know how well you can see everything, from where you're sitting or whatever you're looking at Zoom on. So I do just invite you to go to my website to look at sample pages and you'll be able to see things more clearly perhaps there. But now I want to shift over to talking about the free resources that I have. So the Writing Quick Guide does, cost money, but there are also free resources on my website and in Kahoot. So how many of you use Kahoot? All right, so part of you. Kahoot is really fun. And if you have never used Kahoot and you don't know how to use it, you can also go to my website and get instructions on how to begin using it. And I have, I think, over 70 Kahoot quizzes. So I do have Kahoot quizzes for writing, math, reading, science, social studies. I have Kahoot quizzes in Spanish. It is a wonderful thing to do in your classes because it's just fun, and it also, gives review. But I went to a session yesterday where the whole thing was basically about making your classes fun. So so the students get addicted to the class and they keep coming. And I do think that adding some fun to your class is very vital. Okay, so here's just 3 of the 9 Kahoot quizzes that would go with the multiple choice part of the HiSET writing test. Yeah, that's covered up, but. Okay, and then I just, in the last few months, created some Jeopardy games for reviewing. So I used to say that Kahoot was the most fun thing I ever did in my class, and now Jeopardy has topped that. So we are loving doing the Jeopardy games. And if things go well at the end of the session, we'll start to play a Jeopardy game. We probably won't have time to do the whole game, but you'll see how that works. So I do have 3 of these, but they do come with the purchase of the Writing Quick Guide. They're not, hosted on a different website like the Kahoot quizzes are. Okay, and so do you have any questions about part 1? I'm either doing a great job of explaining things or you're just a very quiet crowd. Oh, I hope it's the first one. Okay, part 2 begins to prepare students to write the argumentative essay. And so just right there on that page where part 2 starts, we see a tug of war, and that illustrates the idea of opposing viewpoints. Okay, so in the Writing Quick Guide, I have one set of examples for writing the argumentative essay, and then separate from that, I also have some foldables. So let's talk about this, and then I'm going to hold up my foldables. Okay, so the stimulus essays are in different colors to help differentiate between them. So the blue one is side 1, and that yellow one, or it's really more of a gold, that is for side 2. And then this is followed by the prompt and a mnemonic to help students follow a simple 7-sentence plan. Okay, so how many of you remember being taught in school that every paragraph should have 5 to 7 sentences in it? Yeah. Well, that's different from what you need to do for this. And so this whole essay only has 7 sentences total. So we'll have 3 sentences in the first paragraph, and then 2 and 2. So that adds up to 7. And yes, these types of essays are receiving passing scores. So we have the little mnemonic there. It starts with the word question, and then does Sam remember the essay organization code? And then each one of those represents one of the 7 sentences. And then we just kind of have that little diagram too that helps to explain the idea of, the first paragraph, the second paragraph, and the third paragraph. Okay, and there it is too. So should have clicked that one first, but you can see it a little bigger right there. So then we work with students to memorize that little mnemonic, and of course what it stands for. And then when they go to write their HiSET essay, they've got scratch paper. And so we recommend that they either write the whole words of that code, or at least the first letter of each word. so they can remember the 7 sentences. Okay, and then this is a step-by-step example that supports the first side. So you see the basically instructions on the left side, and then you see the example of what they could write on the right side. All the words in bold are like sentence starters that we also want them to memorize. So if they memorize the code and what it stands for, and they memorize the sentence starters, then it almost becomes a fill in the blank type of thing that they can do. And this is especially helpful for our lower level students. Okay, and here's a step-by-step example that supports the second side. So those instructions on the left are the same. The sentences on the right change somewhat. The first one is, just introducing the essay with a question related to the prompt. So that's going to be the same sentence, whether they're going to go with side 1 or side 2. And the second sentence is about the debate. Well, that's going to be the same. And then sentence 3 is when they choose a side. So those are going to be opposites. And then, it kind of goes from there. Okay, so after the step-by-step examples, the final product is a simple 7-sentence argumentative essay that supports each side. And it's written in paragraph form. And then the students are only required, you should know this already, I mean, I'm sure that you do, that they're only required to write 1 essay on their test, but this shows them that they can successfully choose either side. So sometimes they're worried about what's the right side to choose, well, that doesn't matter. Whichever side they want to choose is just fine because that's not part of their scoring. So this just shows that, they could take those opposite sides. So everything that was written, vertically in the example, the 1 through 7 is now put into paragraph form. And so, we've got the blue one for side 1 and the gold one for side 2. And so again, these simple essays are receiving passing scores. And they also help the students to have more time to answer their multiple choice questions if they're writing a shorter, simpler essay. So, the whole thing goes together. They've got a time limit. And if they can just, write a simple essay, then they can think more about those other questions. Yes. I'm sorry, just a second. Can you take the microphone?
Yes.
Can you hold on just a second? Zoom people can't hear unless we use a microphone.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of things. And we have both, which and HiSET, but we had cheap for the longest, so I'm not very familiar with HiSET.
Okay.
So things like, how many points can you see on the HiSET? You said this, framework, this is passing scores, what's the score framework for?
Okay, that's a great question, and we might have someone who's joined us from Zoom that's not very familiar with the HiSET test either. And in fact, I did not know that Georgia had gone to HiSET because I have customers in Georgia that have bought, GED materials. So that's good to know. The HiSET test is graded, each subject is graded from 1 to 20, and 8 is passing, except that they require a total of 45 points for the overall, which would be like an average of 9 on each test, because we have 5 separate tests with HiSET, whereas you have 4 with GED. Now, for the writing, 8 is the total that's required, but they must receive at least a 2 on their essay. Essays are graded from 1 to 6. So that means 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 are passing. But as long as they get that 2, then they've met that requirement. And then all together, whatever they earn on the essay plus whatever they earn on the multiple choice that's not recorded anywhere where we could see it, but where that adds up to 8 or more, then that passes.
Your essay score does not have to be the multiple choice score. It's just, they have to be two to pass it completely, but then have to be 8 on multiple choice to pass the grade.
Okay, so,
Many people, it took me a long time to understand that too, so it is not a combination, but you do have to get the 2 to pass the essay, but you have to get an 8 minimum on the multiple choice.
okay, so I was informed about the total of the 8 by HiSET people, but it doesn't make any difference one way or the other because there's still, you know, the requirement of 8 for the writing test, but also the requirement of the 2. Okay. She has another question. No. The question was, is there a word count or a paragraph count? And the answer to that is no. And if you will look at the HiSET practice test and for writing, and you look at the examples that they give, you know, they'll give examples of essays that score a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and all that. Sometimes those 2s that they accept are not as organized as this plan, but this is as low as I want to go, you know, in teaching our students how to write an essay. And then I feel like it is really a good foundation for, you know, college, even though it's not a college level essay, you know, in any way, but it's still the basics. It's like the skeleton. And if they understand that, you know, skeleton really well, then they can start to learn how to flesh it out, you know, and make a more robust essay for college. Okay, so any more questions before I talk about this? Okay, so we've had some turnarounds at our college. So in October of 2024, just, you know, in the fall, we have a situation where we had a situation, 10 students who were taught to write a more complex argumentative essay in a more advanced HiSET class, scored not yet prepared when given an official practice test. So we do have a teacher that we allow to go ahead and teach, you know, a higher level, you know, more complex argumentative essay. You could say she's grandfathered in to our program. She's been with us for a really long time. She has taught college before. For her, it would be really hard to, you know, teach this simpler essay because it's just not in her to do something like that. And, you know, as teachers, don't we really want our students to just know a lot? You know, we want to share a lot with them, and we just kind of have to work really hard to bring it down more to their level and what they need. And so there were these 10 students. I contacted them after her scores were turned in. They each had scored either prepared or well prepared on their multiple choice questions. And so I knew they had, you know, the ability to pass that part of the test. And so I taught them in just one class that I did for like about 2.5 hours. I'm sorry, I kind of got ahead of myself. The solution is that I invited these students to a special one-time 2.5 hour class to learn to write the simpler 7-sentence essay. And then the result of that was soon after that class, 9 of the students passed their HiSET writing test, and 6 of those are now graduates. For some of them, it was their last test, you know, so we certainly didn't want them to fall through the cracks. We didn't want to lose them just because the essay was, you know, more complex. Due to family issues, one student waited several weeks to test and he did not pass it when he tried it, but that's still like a 90% pass rate. And so I was, you know, very excited about that. Okay, so I do have free video examples of essays on my website. So right there where it says writing videos. And this is a screenshot of what that looks like. So the first video is just a short introductory video that explains the 7 steps or the 7 sentences, and it also lasts about 7 minutes. And then we have 3 sets of examples. So the first set is the same as what is in the writing quick guide, so they could see it as a video. You know, you could let the students kind of learn that on your own, or if you choose to use, you know, this curriculum, especially if you purchase the curriculum, you might want to also use this just as training for your teachers, you know. Then the next 2 sets come from HiSET free practice tests. So I don't ever put any videos on my website that use HiSET materials that are from the paid practice test or the official practice test. But since they've made those free ones just freely available for everyone, then I have put some things on there for this. I also have a lot of videos for math using the free practice test 8. Okay. Well, and this would be a good time. Let me go back. So along with the purchase of the writing quick guide comes quite a bit of supplemental material. And so one of those things is what I call foldables. So this is a foldable, this is a foldable. This is side 1 and side 2 to go with that next to last set right there. Excuse me. Yep. Oh, Kathy, hold on. Okay. So the in-person people can see it as well as the Zoom people. Okay, so these are already folded and cut. So you fold on the dotted line, cut on the solid line. And so the front is always exactly the same because this is the instructions for the 7 sentences. And then when you open it up, then you can see these are already filled out because it goes along like with what's in the videos, but it's following the instructions and writing out the sentence. Then also there is a foldable form. Sorry, I'm getting tongue tied up here. That is, you know, white and not filled in with the actual sentences. You've got your instructions here, and then you open it up and the sentence starters are there. So what we do is we have them write their first essay after we've, you know, gone through examples and everything. Then we have them write it on a foldable and then bring it up for us to look at. And sometimes we need to correct things. Actually, every time we need to correct things and show them where they went astray a little bit, and you know how they could have written that sentence better to, you know, match what they're supposed to be doing. And then after that, then they can write it in paragraph form, because we certainly don't want them to go into their test and just write, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4 like that all the way down. We want it to be in paragraph form, but this helps to keep them from writing too much because there's not very much space with each flap, you know. So that was one of the problems that the foldable was trying to address, and then also to help them to just follow it step by step. Okay, and then, you know, you can also show them the paragraph form to go along with that. All right. Okay, and so here you can see it electronically. This is more like what it's going to look like on the video, where on this one we see that the 4th flap is open, and there's extra information there that I am saying on the video. about that step. And so all of this just really helps them to do it step by step. Okay, and there is the white foldable form. Okay, so we already saw that I have Kahoot quizzes for the multiple choice part, but I also have Kahoot quizzes for the essay writing. So there are 4. You see 2 of them here. And then I have other resources. Okay, so prior to this year, because I updated the writing last spring and summer, after that FBT 8 practice test came out. And so we've been using it since our classes started in August. And one of my goals was to, have less in it, which, goes along with the name Quick Guide, but also to have less that our print shop would need to print. So we are very blessed to have a print shop that does the printing for us. But, it was a lot of pages in that idea of trying to cover all these things, And so now there is less printing, but I wanted to have some extra resources that would be digital, that the teachers could use to reinforce ideas, and also to bring in more fun. So like the Jeopardy game that I hope we still get to, but I'm not even looking at the time. So how are we doing on the time? 12:44, okay. Oh, okay, we're doing great on time. Okay. All right, so I have 6 PowerPoints. So here is an example, like what is the error in this sentence? And this is sentence number 2. Like I can't show you the whole thing at once, or it would just be so small that, it wouldn't really be very easy to look at. But this is an example. So like here is a debate sentence. There's a debate about the importance of skills for success. So like, what's wrong with that? Okay, so then the part in this orange explains what is wrong with it. And it's not so much that it's wrong because it's a bad sentence, but it's wrong because it didn't go with the prompt. That's what made it wrong, because you always find the debate in the prompt. And it's easy sometimes to think what the prompt is about, when that's not really what it's about. And so this helps to, explain to the students how important it is to pay really close attention to what is in that prompt, what the debate really is, and all of that. And so that red part or origin part explains what's wrong with it. And then this blue part explains how they could have written that in a better way. And then when we are doing these PowerPoints, where we're finding the errors in the sentences, I do explain to the students that we don't necessarily expect them to recognize what's wrong with it right away. So especially the first time we do one of these PowerPoints, it's more for just kind of exposure and to help them to see how it works, in hopes that by the time we get to, the 4th, 5th, and 6th PowerPoint, that they're starting to catch on and recognizing the errors, and that, they don't make those same kind of errors in their own essay. Okay, so that's all I was going to show you. But is there anybody that would like to win one of these writing quick guides? All right, so I'm sure. And while you're doing that, I'm going to put the names in there.
So I teach a 10-sentence essay,
Okay.
which is very similar. I have them do the exact same thing. I will say when I have them full of quotes, I have them identify if this is from the second or the third article, proposal, speech, whatever it tells them that the 2 sides are. My question is, what do you see for NRS reading scores 3 and below? Because with anyone that's like a 4 or above, I can get them through like the entire HiSET program in about 36 hours. And if they're at a 5 or a 6, I walk through writing with them and writing an essay 2 times. I walk through the class and then I have them do one on their own. And if they're struggling, then I have them do the opposites of that. But it's really, really dependent on the level performance. So what score are you seeing, or what level do you see that they're at to start with?
Okay. All right, so let me repeat that to make sure I understand. Basically, you're saying that you're having success with your 10-sentence essay with higher level students, but you're not attempting it with lower level students. Is that correct?
Yes. I found that the lower level students find it very confusing, like it's not as straightforward. They get stuck in the little details and they can't gloss over, like my higher students.
Well, certainly it's easier for a higher level student to catch on. And that's why those, 10 students, I could, have a 2.5-hour class and they caught on. I needed to correct them a little bit, on a few things, but in general, they got it and they went on and took their test. With our lower level students, we do have an 8-week writing class. So we do spend longer with them going over the essay instruction. And even though it's at the back of the writing quick guide, part 2, we basically integrate it. Like on the second day of the 8 weeks, we go ahead and start teaching the essay. So we have the first part of class will be for the multiple choice, and the second part of class will be for the essay. So we can kind of stretch it out. We have several days of just showing them examples. And then finally, the big day comes where they try their own, and, it proceeds from there. We let them practice several different times. There's nothing that's going to help every single student to be successful, but we are having success with our lower level students. We aren't exactly going by NRS levels this year. We have been able to pilot a program in Oklahoma where we are not having to do the TABE test or classes. We're getting to use, whatever we want to use as a placement test. And I think this is a nationwide thing, but I'm not positive. But is it nationwide for all of you that if they pass one subject out of a high school equivalency test, that it counts as a measurable skills gain in your states? Okay, so yeah, so because of that, we're able to just do different kinds of placement tests. And so I can't really tell you what the NRS levels are at this point, but I can tell you in the past, like before the latest TABE test, it was pretty much NRS levels 1, 2, and 3 went in the lower level class, and 4, 5, and 6 went into the upper level, which is basically, I think, what you were saying. When the latest TABE came out, it seemed like it was maybe like level 1 and 2 or something for NRS levels 1 and 2 for the lower level class, and even 3 and above, was going into the upper level. But I just can say that with only 7 sentences, we are having success. So we do have people passing, and that simplifies it even more. The foldables help a lot, because if you don't have the foldables, then they just kind of ramble, it's real easy for some people to ramble. They don't have room to ramble on a foldable. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so I'm going to get out of my PowerPoint. And uh-oh. Let's stop sharing the screen. So. All right. Give me a moment here. It'll be fun when I get it going. All right. So if you did the QR code at the beginning, then your name should be in here. Except I need to open the right one. Which is this one. Okay. That doesn't look like the right one. Everything worked like a charm yesterday morning. There you go. All right. All right. That's you all, right? You see your names? Okay. Here we go. The first one is going to be, the first winner is going to be for the actual pre-printed book. Pre-printed book. And the quick guide. It looks like I forgot to put something in there. I'm gonna have to get with you again in a little while. And then the second one is gonna be for the printable version. So here we go. All right, is Crystal Hills in the room or online? So, okay, Crystal. Are you on Zoom? Okay, can't see. Okay. Well, yes, I do have her email address. Okay. Well, let's give her a round of applause. And I will mail that to her. Okay. All right, printable version. All right, is Jennifer Hills in the room? No. Okay, so we have another Zoom winner. All right. Okay. So I'm gonna write down those two names. Oh, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Okay, thank you very much. All right, well, it would have been exciting to have somebody in the room win too, but we are very glad to have our Zoom participants as well. Okay, so I keep messing this up. Okay, let's try this again. Okay, so we have some time left, and I want to show you the Jeopardy game. Okay. All right, so how many of you have ever created or played a Jeopardy game with your classes? Okay, cool. So a few of you know how this works. Okay, so when you just, it is in PowerPoint. So when you just open it up, you know, you're going to see all those screens or all those slides on the left. And so you don't want them to see that, of course. And to make it work, you have got to do it as a slideshow. So we'll go from the beginning. Okay, and I'm going to get this thing out of the way. All right, so then we're just going to push start. And okay, it's still in the way. Okay, so we've got 5 categories in this one: spelling, nouns, transition words, verbs, and organization. So the organization goes along with lesson 1, but I went ahead and put it at the end in this game. And then the rest of these, well, the transition words goes with the organization as well. And then the spelling, nouns and verbs were the lessons following the organization. Okay, so what I like to do is to divide into 2 teams. So just to make it super simple, although it's not exactly even, let's just say this side of the room will be 1 team, that side of the room will be another team, and you need a team captain. So I guess I need a volunteer, or I'll just tell somebody. So do I have anybody over here that could be a team captain? And then those of you who are on Zoom, you can put answers into chat, because since this is webinar style and you can't speak, there's not any way for you to participate, like we would like for you to be able to. But I still chose to do a Jeopardy game because I wanted you all to see how fun this is. And in a regular Zoom class that's not webinar style, we're still using the Jeopardy game, because we can still divide, like everybody that your last name is A through M, you're on 1 team, and everybody N through C, you're on another team. We go ahead and choose team captains and all of that. Okay, so, all right. Well, how about you go be a team captain over there, and I'll get Kathy to be a team captain here. This is Marcia, by the way, and Marcia's been using my curriculum. So in a moment, I want her to just say a little something. Okay, so, all right, Kathy, you're going to be team captain for this side. Okay, now choose a category and an amount. And then in a classroom, we would have a marker board, and so we would keep score as well. And it gets super competitive. The students will be looking for the answers in the quick guide if they don't remember. So we kind of give them a little time to do that. And it's just been not only very fun, but it's been tremendous as a driver for them to want to, review and participate. Okay, pick a category. Okay, and this is what I was finding in my classroom too. I thought they would kind of ease into it, but oh no, they want to go for the big points. And then keep in mind that you haven't had the opportunity to, see the lessons yet. So that's going to make answering these questions a little more challenging. But I just want you to get to see what it's like and how much fun it is. Okay, so transition words for 80. Match the transition words with what they show. So we have despite, moreover, and therefore. And the answer choices are continuing thought, adding more information, and changing thought. And then the way we do it is, if somebody blurts out an answer, it's not official until it's gone through the team captain, so that nobody on the team is angry with somebody that quickly blurted out answer. Can you use the microphone?
Yeah, so we've got 2 different ideas.
Okay, well, just give me one of them and,
Let's see.
okay.
All right, we'll go with number 2, more is A, and 3 for therefore is adding more information.
Okay, and I can understand why you would answer that way, but according to the book, we see that therefore is continuing the thought, and moreover is adding more information. Those could be a little debatable. I could see that. The biggest idea, though, is to just help them to understand what one of these transition words means when it's like, in the middle of a sentence, or the examples in the book are when it's starting a new paragraph. Okay, so you see that I just clicked on the answer, and now I'm clicking on home, and you can see that the 80 is brown now. So we know we've used that one. And I don't go to the other team to try to answer the same question. So now you get a new category and a new amount. All right, let's go going for the big points again. Okay, this sentence has two subject nouns. What are they? The baseball coach and the team were eager for the tournament. Okay, is that your final answer? Okay, team and coach. And that is correct. So that would be 80 points on this side. All right, let's give you all another chance over here. Verbs for 80. Correct the verbs in the sentences. 1, all the cousins have came to the family reunion. And 2, Max had went to the store to buy charcoal before the cookout. Okay, so notice that since this is an 80-point question, there are 2 sentences to correct instead of just 1. So what do we need to do to correct it?
And
Will you use the microphone, Kathy? Okay, put the microphone. All right, and we see the answer, and that is correct. Okay, and I just had those helping verbs, have and had, highlighted also to draw attention to. That's, what was telling us to use that past participle form in the verb. Okay, let's do one more for this side.
Spelling for 80.
Okay. Correct the spelling. They're working to complete their HiSET test before graduation. Okay, well, tell me how to spell it.
They are.
Okay, for the first word.
Oh.
Okay, awesome. Yes, that's exactly correct. Okay, so we don't have time to do the whole game, but I think you can see how fun this could be. How about we go ahead, since you all missed the first question, we give you one more chance. You want to go for organization for 80 or? All right, we'll see how it goes. Fill in the blank. All the sentences in a paragraph should support the blank of the paragraph. Okay, that's hard because you don't have the writing quick guide. Okay, let's see what the answer says. Main idea is the correct answer, so yes. And, this was a really good example. This question was a really good example where the team was, looking through the quick guide, trying to find that again because they couldn't remember it, but they did find it and then just reinforced it, and it was just a lot of fun. Okay. All right, well, will you give the microphone to Marcia, please? I almost forgot that I wanted Marcia to just talk to you for a minute about her experience. So.
I'm Marcia, and I'm so Oklahoma, but while Susan's out one of our bigger programs in the capital of Oklahoma, I serve at 4 big small rural counties. And so I can attest that this can work for small classes where maybe only have a couple students show up. And then obviously she's doing it on a larger scale where she has enough students that they can do different levels of classes and things like that. We're more like the school house, and everybody all levels, maybe they're English students, maybe they're not. We're not going to put them away because we're old, there's nowhere else for them. This program has been great for us. We were setting up internet access with problems. She had enough printable materials that we can still use it. And I will say, I work with a lot of lower level students. And I think that the essay, everything's great. And her math was doing great too, but the essay in particular can be really helpful. As you all know, the writing essay can be very, very daunting for students. That can be overwhelming. And I feel like this approach makes it really easy. And she had a lot of step-by-step things like on the polls where they're almost, really scaffolding them. They're getting to kind of keep into with examples, with fill in the blanks, with all the great cues. And so it's just been great for me. It's also great for all of my teachers that are part-time. They have other jobs that they retired. And so I feel like this is really great for the other staff members because it's very accessible curriculum. And so they can put it to use easily, implemented without requiring the training for the very students. Thank you, and thank you guys for listening.
Yes, and thank you. And if I'd been thinking a little more, I would have had to come up here in front of the for the Zoom people, but yes, thank you very much. And so I do see a comment on Zoom that said, basically, this is an infomercial. So yes and no. Of course, I would love for you to purchase my writing curriculum, but it's only $250. That is less money than what your hotel costs tonight, you know? And with that, you have the opportunity to print as much as you want to. I'm trying to make it affordable for the small programs as well as the larger programs. And yes, so partly infomercial, but there are some free resources. Everything there, all those videos on my website are freely available to anyone, and all my Kahoot quizzes are free too. So thank you very much for everybody that came. If anybody has any more questions, or if you want to see the book in person, since I haven't given it to the winner yet, because that winner must be somewhere else on Zoom, you're welcome to come up and take a closer look. Thank you very much.